the story behind some of our artists that and their lives since the pandemic. Some are producers, but some are not. Some are just live music, and in my heart, they are unseen heroes. We don't realize how much we pull on music, how much we love music, and we need it to survive until it's gone.
Yeah.
And until you're standing in a room singing all by yourself, and you need that piano, you need that horn, you need that this to get you, to usher you to a place. And has anybody asked them, are they okay? Woo.
Shift this.
Well, hello there, sir.
Hey,
So what is your name?
my name is Joel T. Lester.
Awesome sauce. This documentary is actually about music, so could you tell us how long you've been doing music?
Don't want to give my age away, but I've been doing music for a long, long time, like well over 20 years.
Wow. Awesome sauce. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll just get back right into the questions.
Okay.
So, how has life changed since March 2020 for you?
Life has changed dramatically. I'm an artist who's used to being faithful at your home church, of course, but also traveling, singing, and ministering all over the place, and connecting to an audience. So with this pandemic, of course, you cannot really have an audience, so it's drastically changed.
And that's, I know that you have personal music and you have like a church that you work for. Is it the same when it comes to your personal music? Just trying to
No.
connect or make music? Or?
It's different. They're in two different categories. The church, my mentality is completely different because it's not about my ministry per se. It's about what that house needs and what works for that house as far as music is concerned.
Somebody give your great God a great praise in this place. Hallelujah. Yeah, you're greater. God, you're greater. You're the God that can part a red sea. You're the God that gives us power to bring down every Goliath. Say, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Even if we're in the desert, you give us water right in the desert. You're greater. I need you to declare it at home. You are greater than anything I'm facing. You are greater. Yeah.
It's all about the songs that God gives me. And I can do whatever I want to do with my own ministry, whereas the church, you kind of have to form fit it to that house.
Wow. So when it comes to new music, since March, have you had new music? Are you inspired? Or
I do have new music. I've not been inspired, and then there are days that I am inspired. So it's like bipolarism. But I do have new music that I am working on that hopefully will be out either by the end of this year or the spring of next year.
wow.
So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Do you find it hard to stay connected to your team, both your personal team and then your church team?
I don't find it necessarily hard to keep connected because there's so many avenues that you can stay connected. The hard part comes in with this pandemic, again, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, the desire to even want to talk to anybody. Like people are dealing with depression and all kinds of things. So I do try to keep connected as far as having Zoom meetings or phone calls, things like that. So it can be difficult, but not necessarily on my part. Right. I mean, like I said before, I've tried to have Zoom meetings. There are phone calls. There are planning meetings where, for at least for my personal ministry, where I've had phone conferences so that we can pick alternative dates so that we can have a concert or something. Now, whether it's going to happen, it depends on whether the pandemic is still going on, but at least we're planning so that in people's minds, they get excited about the idea of coming together and doing something. So I can't do it. I can't do it only because my singers and my band, they're all in New York. So it's hard for me to do that. As far as the church is concerned, the band, you know, after some rehearsals, they'll take time just to kind of jam or whatever. But with this pandemic, we haven't been able to have like a jam session where the singers and musicians come together and just have fun, just give God glory. We haven't had an opportunity to do that since I've been in California.
Is that something that you want to do?
Absolutely. And during this pandemic, it's really needed. Like, we need to come together. We need to sing. We need to minister to each other. We need to allow God to minister to us. So it's in the works. I'm planning on doing something here in California real soon. Hopefully, it'll start off once a month, like a night of worship. And hopefully it'll go to two times a month. But yeah, it's in the works.
Wow.
Yes. Stress, I don't know about panic, but it can be stressful because since we are not really able to meet weekly as a full music ministry, I'll say, like we have at the church, there are a few singers where we now meet every week. But it can be stressful trying to choose songs that they can identify with, they can connect with. And then even in the pandemic, people are still very busy. So it can be stressful when they don't do their homework. And so when we come to rehearsal and it doesn't flow, I'm a perfectionist, so it drives me crazy sometimes. But I know people are doing the best they can in this pandemic. So it can be stressful. I don't panic though. Not gonna panic.
That's good.
No. Of course, I mean, there have been times where ministry has been hard, but this is different. So no, I can't remember ever dealing with something like this, and prayerfully won't have to deal with something like this again, because this is a mess.
Right.
Yeah. For me, honestly, even though we're living in uncertain times, I'm certain about the God that I serve. I'm certain that He is more than able to fix any situation. And even though we're in a pandemic and it seems like we're in the middle of a tornado and windstorm, I can be calm in the storm because He's got me covered. So through prayer, through singing, even through fellowship, the little fellowship that I have with the singers and the musicians at the church here, through, again, Zoom calls. My dad is a pastor, so through him, talking to my family, that keeps me motivated. So yeah. It has been hard. Again, for me, it's been hard because I don't have my musicians here with me. Whereas if I was in New York during this pandemic, it would be a little easier because I could still get with them. We could still create. I could tell them what I heard. They could play it. Here, I haven't found that connection yet with a particular musician to do that. So, yeah, it's definitely hard to create here. Not by myself because, I mean, I have my little studio. So if I hear songs, I can go and record it and do harmonies and things. But it's definitely hard to connect as far as putting the music to the songs that I hear.
Well, those are all of my questions. Thank you so much for your time. I feel like I will have so much more to say.
And I was ready too.
He's ready. Well, I think, what I want the audience to see and connect with is the artist as themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we as the world, I see that I don't consider myself an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Music is in and out my life.
Okay.
So what I would like the world to see is how your world is affected. I feel like we're so entertained by you guys, but we really don't know what you're going through or what's actually happening in your world.
Yeah.
Now that the world has been flipped upside down, and you know, it's the reason why we call the documentary new music.
Yeah.
Because it's literally new music. We may never go back to where we were. So in my brain, I kind of wanted to know, where are you? Where's your mindset? What is this world like for you? Is it scary?
It's definitely scary. My mind is actually all over the place because, I mean, when you're used to, especially those musicians and singers who are full-time, like who really, this is their livelihood. Thank God that, you know, I'm still able to do music and I'm at a church, so I'm still able to be sustained financially. But when you depend on traveling and getting paid, you know, going from city to city and even out of the country, like I'm used to going out of the country once a year. So when all of that is taken from you, it's like, what do I do now? Because this is where my money is coming from. So I do see that a lot of singers and musicians are being creative where they're doing live streams, you know, and they might ask people to donate $5 or something like that, which is very good. And hopefully people will do it because this is their livelihood. And we need music. Music is so important. So, but for me, again, I'm all over the place because that element is missing from my life right now. And that is a huge, like, I live, breathe music. So when you're not able to do what you love and what you know you're called to do, it can be very depressing. And it can make you want to give up, especially if you don't have a strong support system. So I thank God for a strong support system. But even with the support system, I have my days where I'm like, is it over for me? Like, because I don't know what else I want to do. You understand what I mean? So it's definitely been hard, been difficult. You deal with, like I said, depression, and you want to give up. You're like, okay, Lord, just take me out of here. My job is done, I guess. But the truth of the matter is, I believe we might not go to what we knew as normal, but I do believe that we'll get back to being able to perform and minister in front of audiences and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that day. Rona, get out of here. Nobody got time for you. Like, you've been here too long. Like, pack your bags and boot, go. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Done. Right. Well, I thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. I just wanted to get into the world of the artist, understand what you're going through, talk to you about people. But just thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
but not
you.
even just for this, but thank you for what you do, because, you know, I couldn't imagine my world without you. It's not my everyday life, but I couldn't have my world without it. So instead of us, you know, pretty much abusing that aspect of our lives, let's kind of get into who we are, how we are now. Are you okay? Like, you know,
Yeah.
thank you for showing up. You know? 'Cause I mean, at the end of the day, I can imagine it's just like, this isn't really benefiting me like it did before, so why
Yeah.
not just quit, you know?
And I have a lot of music friends. They're not okay.
Right.
So
Right. But thank you so much for
thank
your
you
time.
for having me.
And I think this is awesome. Okay, I got it. That is a wrap.
Hey.
Awesome. And action.
Oh,
Whenever you're ready.
okay.
That's fine.
When I look in retrospect, some choices weren't the best. Oh, you are my everything, the reason I live and breathe, my hope and trust I plan in you.
All right, so let's start off with your name.
Well, hello. My name is Gary. Gary, it is not a mistake.
You can look into the camera when you say that. You're,
My name is not. Right. So my name is Gary, and it's not a mistake.
Awesome sauce. All right. It wasn't on the list, but I do like to ask, how long have you been in music?
So I've been in music pretty much all my life, but professionally, about I started at the age of 17. Really started really getting into it, just doing everything, starting from drums to directing the choir, then singing, then playing the organ and playing the keyboard. So it's just been a journey all my life. I had to fight. Well, I think everybody's life's changed in one way or another. With this whole coronavirus and pandemic, I can honestly say my life really hasn't changed as much as certain people, and I thank God for that. Still have a job, quite a few jobs actually, and God has still been providing. And I think I've been on this thing about tithing, so I think being a tither really helps me to continue to keep a job and still protect me from the sickness and the COVID and all that stuff. So I'm just covered by COVID, covered through COVID.
Right. I feel you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is it hard to keep your team connected? And meaning, I know that you're a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're a minister of music, so
Mm-hmm.
you're a leader to your music team. Is it hard to keep them connected in this season?
You know what? It's actually been quite difficult. Not because they don't want to be connected. It's just the fact that during all this whole time, we had to separate ourselves doing, because of the powers that be, have to call, these different types of staying at home type of, things that we had to do. So it's been somewhat difficult. It's been somewhat difficult, but we always stay in touch with through cell phone, of course. Technology really helps drastically and greatly with that. So, but as far as musically playing together, yes, it's been tough. It's been tough because you want to feel your brothers, you want to feel your sisters, whoever's playing, to get that energy, and so we all can just have that vibe and that chemistry. So it's been up and down, but for the most part, yes, it has been a challenge.
I do know for you, I know you through church, that the first chorus of this wave, you had to play alone.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was quite interesting. Now the thing is, I started playing by myself, as far as just a drummer and an organ player. So and then once I learned to adapt to playing with a band, a full band, and then losing it again, it was like, oh my God, it's like, where's your life support? It's life support. You need the drums, you need the bass, you need the other organ, you need the saxophone that we have at the church. So you look at all those components to create what you want to create. It's really hard, but thank God, being a producer, it's easy because you can create all of that, in the studio and just kind of, creating those things that are missing to kind of give you that, but it's nothing like the real thing, baby.
Right. I feel you on that one. Okay, next question. What have you tried to do to keep the ministry running smoothly?
With that, talking to Bishop, just making sure that we can kind of, keep some type of flow going. So I talked to Bishop, and then I'll talk to our minister of music, Joel, and we'll say, yo, I can do this. I can create all these at home. If if you still want a full sound, I can do this at home. I can, go home and get on this keyboard and just create all types of sound and making it big as if we have a full 15-piece band when it's just me and him. So we just try to keep it doing that way, try to keep it afloat. Now, the other thing with that is, connecting with the band, you always try to keep that brotherhood, that phone open. So you want to kind of like talk to them on a regular, like, yo, I hope all is well with you and your family. I'm thinking about y'all, so with that was pretty cool to always make sure that you're thinking of them, and they appreciate that. So when it comes, they're like, man, Gary, I appreciate you, for always just, checking out on me. I'm like, yeah, you're my brother.
Right,
I got to make sure I'm more than just a leader. I don't really run by titles. I'm not that title type of dude. I just really just kind of make sure that whoever can trust me, let me lead them. That's my thing.
Right. Awesome. All right. Okay, so this is probably a hard question. Do you find that stress and panic play a part in your process now?
Now?
And even think about in the beginning, because like now, we need you to do what you do. We need you to make your magic, but by yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? I love my life. Let me just start that. And the reason why I say that is when you love what you do, you don't stress.
Right.
When you love what you do, you don't panic. I think the only thing that will come from like, oh my God, what we got to do is, what can I put right here? It's more so excitement than like, oh my God, I'm feeling so down because I don't have this. Music is like the most beautiful thing to ever have in life. And so when you have it, when you are music, you never stress. You never panic about nothing because you can just create so much. That's a language that people, I wish everybody can understand. It's so amazing to have music as a language. And so with that, I don't stress. I don't look at it as anything. I don't look at it as work. I don't look at it as, something that I have to do. This is something that I want to do. I want to make people feel good through music. I want people to look at me like, man, that dude is really into it because I am, because I am music. Yeah, I believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we just got the tag to the end of the show. That was it. So the next question would be, can you remember, was there ever a time that ministry was this hard as 2020?
Ministry is work. I would say that. Ministry is always going to be work. And I think there are their own separate challenges. Especially for me, going through ministry as just not necessarily like a minister, but a minister in training. Going through that was work because you got to stay in your word. You got to study. You study to show thyself approved, huh?
Right.
And so so that was work, and then you finally get comfortable in that. And then being a leader and a minister at the same time, that was work because you have to reach people where they are. Everybody is not going to be biblically sound, you know what I'm saying? And so you have to kind of like meet them. So that was a challenge, but once you get used to it, it's like, okay, they can understand me, I can understand them, let's keep moving forward. So I think every round goes higher and higher. And so for 2020, it was their challenge. It was the challenge because now you have to really minister to people virtually more than being there physically. And so that's their challenge. But again, once you get comfortable in it, you know how to reach people because now you're starting to see the response and you're hearing the response like, you know what, you're blessing me through the music, you're blessing me through the word, keep it up, keep doing it. So it becomes a thing where it's like, you know what? It's not a challenge no more.
Right.
We're here.
Yes,
we're here. I mean, you adjust as you go. It's I don't want to consider it to be the new normal, but from what it looks like, so it may be. But I truly believe God is going to pull us out and pull us through.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Do you feel it hard to create new music? And meaning, not many of you are actual artists that we're talking to, but you are an actual artist. We can see behind him, he has his own album up there. So you are an actual artist. Have you made new music? Is it hard to just be inspired to make new music since March?
There are, I guess, people call them brain farts. There are moments where it could be because you want to create your own identity, and I think that's where the challenge becomes when you don't want to sound like another artist. Because quiet as kept, everybody is starting to sound the same to me. That's just my honest opinion. Everybody has the same riff, run, music, the flow, and all that stuff. So my challenge is I want people to know who Gary is. I want them to see, like, that's Gary's identity. That's when they close their eyes and they can hear what's going on, the language, that's Gary voice. And I can tell. So that's where the challenge becomes. But for the most part, it's not hard. It's not hard. It's fun.
Right.
I am music.
Right.
So it's just so much fun to create what you love to do.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So now it's just kind of open to the floor. Is there anything that you want to talk about, concerning music, concerning new music in this time?
Oh, I wasn't ready for that one. Oh, so you want to throw that at me, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Give me a minute, y'all.
Right, this is Mrs. Gary, new music documentary. So my one and only question, elaborate as much as you would like, is how is it being the wife of a musician during this pandemic?
That's a great question. It's a blessing and a curse. It is definitely a blessing because he's just so great. Like, he's very talented, very creative. It's just very fun and interesting just watching him in his element, being able to create and what he comes up with. And then sometimes he lets me sing, so that's fun too, which I love to do as well. But it's definitely a curse as well because, when you want to just chill and, watch TV or things like that, he just be tinkling away. You be like, okay. He'll 15 more minutes, he'll probably stop. Okay. No, all right. 30 more minutes, maybe he'll stop. So then sometimes you just like, okay, well, if can't beat him, join him. But no, it's like I said, it's definitely a blessing, just to be married to a musician, just to follow it and see the growth and especially throughout the pandemic. Just so many people, joy has been taken away, but that's where you can find peace. That's where you can find happiness. That's where you can laugh, smile, and everything else, just thinking about what you can create, the sound that you can, that you hear from him, just again, being creative on the piano. So I wouldn't trade this life. I love being married to a musician, and listen, I'm just excited to see what is going to come out of him next. So y'all stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay, from that question, I'm sorry, I only said one, but from that question, I have another one.
Okay.
So, do you find yourself worried about him in a sense of trying, you know what I mean? Is it too much? Especially in the beginning, I asked him about him being the only one. There's not even any other musician, so it's all on him to come up with it. Do you find yourself worried about it being too much pressure or, protective in a way?
I'm always protective of him. Even though he's the man, the alpha and all of that, I'm still always very protective of him. But in regards to being worried, no, I'm not. Gary always finds a way to overcome. He always finds a way to be able to deal with whatever is thrown at him. Even though it may be rough, he always finds a way to get through it. So I'm never worried in that sense. If anything, it will be just not necessarily worried, but frustrated if he's being taken advantage of in any type of way. So, but in regards to there being work, in regards to him being creative, in regards to him being able to be in his element and do what he does, no, never worried. On top of that, even though we're still in a pandemic and things are still in lockdown, so the things that he was able to do prior to, the many places he was able to go without any restrictions or anything like that. Even though that is very minimum, the fact that he can still get whatever his job is done because he's a producer and he can just do it here in the studio. So there's always work to get done regardless. So yeah. Ooh. Oh. Oh. See.
Okay, do it again.
Oh. Oh.
You could use that too. I would like to encourage, let me talk to y'all out there. I would like to encourage you all. Any inspiring artist, any inspiring musician, any inspiring producer, engineer, whatever your case may be, even if it's not music, if you want to be a model, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I would say continue to go forward. Do not allow distractions to disrupt your direction to your destination.
Boy, you better preach. Hallelujah. All right, can we get a little sample of some music of Gary?
Sure. All I want and all I need is you, Lord. All I want and all I need is you, Lord, Lord. I need thee,
All right, so hi. Thank you for being here, sir. If we could just start off with your name.
Ezekiel Martinez.
And what do you play, Ezekiel?
I play the saxophone, so the alto saxophone, the tenor sax. Those are my two primary instruments. Once in a while, I play the soprano sax.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So how long have you been playing?
I've been playing since 2007, roughly at the end of 2006, 2007, as I was graduating from high school. I switched from the clarinet over to the saxophone. I just knew it was going to be a lot more in demand in music, a lot more to do with advanced gigs, more universal with jazz, hip-hop, Latin music, salsa music.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's why I decided to go that route than the traditional classical clarinet. Yeah.
So have you played with, that kind before, like all of those, that kind of music?
No, actually, I didn't. So I just was exposed through it through a church after I graduated in 2007. I picked up the sax, very familiar with the style of playing, both woodwind instruments, and so I picked up the alto sax, and at the church, my home church where I grew up in Rialto, actually purchased me a saxophone.
Wow.
Yeah, they purchased me a saxophone, so they helped me continue on the my music ministry. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
It is.
That's a blessing.
yeah, it definitely is a
Awesome.
blessing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's head on to the question. So, this documentary, of course, as you know, is called New Music. And my first question is, how has your life changed since March 2020?
So yeah, March 2020, that was the COVID lockdown. They made the announcement on television, and I was in disbelief. I couldn't grasp the idea of actually shutting down our life, everything that was considered non-essential. And then I wanted to see if a musician was part of that. Sadly, it's unfortunate that they did consider that not essential. So it definitely impacted my ability to network with people here in California. Especially primary focus was in church and any other events, family events, or within my network, corporate events, birthday events, anything with music definitely impacted me. Everything pretty much died down for me, so I wasn't busy from doing 3 events, on average 3 events a month, to literally 0. Definitely including the church, so that's where I would play a lot. I'd get invites to play within the SoCal region, and that was done. So that was a freeze on my hobby, my semi-professional career. It was halted. It was at a pause. And I still in disbelief due to the nationwide or the state lockdown. So it affected my ability to rehearse with musicians because it was technically illegal to gather. So it definitely impacted. Wasn't able to. I didn't feel motivated to rehearse, even alone. I didn't see a point in doing it. So that also affected my rehearsing motivation. There's really no point in rehearsing if I wasn't going to play any events or play with bands or do any church events. So definitely took a bit of an emotional toll in the beginning. Again, I was still in disbelief. It felt like a dream. Then it started hitting me, I say like around April, when I didn't touch my sax for about a month, and that's when it really hit me emotionally. Music is definitely a way I like to express myself. You know, you have comedians that can talk and express themselves. For me, being a musician and expressing my thoughts, my feelings, and to the saxophone is what drives my motivation, my purpose. It gives me purpose, especially in the ministry, which is my primary focus, church ministry. But even outside of that, seeing people have a good time and smile satisfied me. So not being able to do that definitely took a toll on me emotionally. Not being able to entertain people in that sense, have a good time, that definitely affected me. So that was one of the biggest impacts. Even today, as we speak, we're in October now, mid-October, or beginning of October. Still hasn't really changed. It's still the same. Really can't gather, really can't do anything. All venues are pretty much still shut down until like next year. So it's definitely affected my ability to continue